All right, welcome to the Labor Day special, the season preview, the week one preview of the Atlanta Falcons 2023-2024 season. Damsky, Fleek, Hunter, we got a full room today. Not the whole family. We're still missing Savion and special Floridian guest Kenneth Grits Blitz as well. But it's lovely to see Adam here with us this week. Hunter, we don't see you, but we know you are with us in vocal spirit. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. Good. It's football season. So, I mean, between high school, between college, now NFL this week, tis the season, I guess you could say.
Yeah, did you guys catch any good college games over the weekend? Anything
I
stick out to
mean,
y'all?
I watched my
Yeah.
Buckeyes, but that wasn't a good game at all. Buckeyes looked like shit, but I thought Florida
Kennesaw
State
State
looked nice.
football, it's 1-0, baby.
Kennesaw State's 1-0. That's right. That's right.
Wow. Nice. I mean, I can happily report that Jalen Milroe is like him. So,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I just needed to see what was up. You know what I'm saying? I just needed to see what he was looking like. But I will say, shout out to Dion. You know what I'm saying? Colorado versus TCU might have been the best game of the weekend, bro. At least the one that I saw, bro.
That
That
game
was
was
a
nuts. That game was
that
nuts.
was a game, bro.
That was a good game. There was a lot of good games this weekend. I think Texas Tech Wyoming, that was probably one of my favorite games from the weekend.
I
That was
didn't
a
catch it.
double overtime nail biter, just a classic good college football game.
Take them to the deep end, then go and drown. Did you see that interview?
Man, that's college football in a nutshell, man. Like that game, that post game, like everything about it.
I love it, bro.
Oh,
I was
man.
waiting for the Bama. We were looking for you, kind of. You remember that guy from Hawaii? He
Yeah.
called out Bama, then they got swamped the next week. That's what I was waiting for from the Wyoming linebacker.
Yeah, man. That was too good. But man, we went over the roster last week. There really hasn't been a lot of changes since the roster drop. The things that we'll say that matter the most would be that Parker Hesse, practice squad stash, and Timmy Horn, another practice squad stash. So a couple of guys that we're hoping the team would be able to bring back and keep on to the practice squad. They were able to, and we expect to see those guys probably moved up and down a little bit this season. Adam, since you weren't here with us, is there anything about the roster that you want to say before we kind of take a bigger look at the season ahead?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Parker Hesse is the big one. I just thought last year, like, he didn't get enough credit for how the run game was going. I'd argue that he was probably a bigger run blocking fullback than what Keith Smith was. But I mean, I'm not going to really argue if that's what we're arguing about is the fullback. I know Kamoko Ture as well. He didn't really get so much flash, but at least he got back on the practice squad. I really feel like between him and Bud, we might be able to accumulate 16 games out of the two of those, like between injuries. So if we can do that and they can kind of pick up and replace each other at whatever point that is that they get injured, then I'll be okay with that. I just like people are probably spin that in a negative way, but it's just those are the facts, right? Like Bud Dupree's hasn't played a full season since 2019, I think it was, or 2020, and Ture's been he's the exact same way. So if we can get 16 total games out of those two, that I'd be happy with that because those are two decent pass rushers that I like.
Yeah, and those are two good points to bring up. We didn't really touch on last episode, so I think you make a good point that we have to expect there to be some consistency in terms of what we've seen from guys, and like you mentioned, Bud Dupree hasn't really just been able to finish a season, stay healthy all the way through. And another point you brought up that I think we did also kind of agree with last week was if all we have to worry about is the fullback, if we're complaining about the fullback, we're in a pretty good spot. And speaking of like being able to complain about trivial things, team captains were named today. And that's really why we're able to do a season preview now, because we have identified who the true leaders of this team are. And I gotta say, the special teams brand has never been stronger. Your boy Young Hoku, new number, same old leadership. You hear me? Same old leadership. Old reliable back there. And then on the other end, Jake Matthews, Chris Lindstrom. Is there anybody else you were expecting? Jesse Bates, Adam, that's your boy. You weren't
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, you got
I was
Jesse.
happy.
He made it. Yeah.
It was
Yeah, I like that.
basically two of our two groups came out with the captains. It was Bates and AJ Terrell of the DBs, and the O line well represented in Lindstrom and Jake Matthews, and then you got your special teams there. So I thought it was pretty unique, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I mean,
Bleak.
I ain't touching it. I know you threw it out there. I ain't touching it.
listen. It's cool. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I don't care. I look at it at the beginning of every season. I'm like, oh, cool. Look, they'll have a C on their jersey. That's what's up. But like, I don't see it as an indication of much. I expect all of those guys to be leaders. They're in the NFL.
You know what, Fleek? I actually like how you said it there at the end. You expect all those guys to be leaders. They're in the NFL. They are in the NFL, right? These are grown men. They're paid to do their job. You know, they know what it takes. They know what they got to do to be ready. And, you know, they within their locker room know who the leaders are. And, you know, I think all we have to say is that, you know, it's just going to come down to, you know, the performance that we see on the field. I don't think that this reflects anything about a player's skill level. I don't think this says anything about a player's ability to do anything on this team just because they don't have a patch on their chest. I think it's interesting that last year Marcus Mariota was a captain, and after similar discourse of, you know, the offseason, hearing about leadership being an important thing, you know, it was interesting, but I actually think they learned from that. And I think they look at it as, hey, instead of, you know, just letting the QB be captain, let's let the guy earn it this year outright completely. And there you go. You know,
I made a mistake.
It's a simple
I thought AJ
story.
Terrell was captain, but it was Grady Jarrett.
Yeah.
Now that guy,
the trenches are repping strong this year.
That's good.
For the
That's good. I mean,
2 O-line, 1 D-line.
I like it's crazy. I would like to see like the odds of like a new coming veteran player becoming captain right away, but I think that kind of speaks on who Jesse Bates is, right? Like in terms of leadership and playing on the field. He's just like, I really still don't. I remember when we signed him, people weren't too hyped. Like the fan base wasn't so hyped about it, but I lost my shit because like honestly, he's a hell of a player, and he's gonna help levels of the field, not just his you know what I mean, his 1/11th of the field. He's gonna help like everybody. So I'm really excited. He's probably him and obviously my guy Okuda are like two of the players I'm like waiting to see this year fully.
Yeah.
No, I mean the only other free agent I can think of is Marcus Mariota. So guys that are clearly cut from a different cloth, you know, earning that. Earning that captain patch in just one short off season. So moving on. Excuse me. Sorry.
Hey man.
That's hilarious.
So, you know, Fleek, what are you? It's the season's here. It's game
here,
week.
bro.
It's game week. It's 6 days away, less than 6 days now, technically from kickoff. But, you know, what are you expecting from this team this year? What is it that you're looking for? You know, what are you hoping to see now that, you know, the season's finally here?
Whole lot of Bijan. Whole lot of Bajan. Sorry about that. Whole lot of Bajan Robinson. Okay. He just got it, bro. He just has it. Like, I don't know. I want to see a lot of Bijan. I want to see a lot of Drake. But all in all, to be honest, I just want to see Ritter deliver the goods, bro. And I'm not asking him to be spectacular. I'm not asking him to play outside of his means. I'm just asking him to hit the layups, bro. I'm just asking him to distribute the ball well enough to get these playmakers out in space to be able to make moves and gain yards. Kyle Pitts got to, you know what I'm saying? We gotta do something this year, baby. You know what I'm saying? We gotta do something. People doubting your name again. You know, it's year 3. I expect big things out of big dog. So I'm excited, bro. We got a lot of potential. I'm just ready to see what this offense looks like more than anything, to be honest.
Yeah,
Ab-
are you just talking about this game or just the season in general?
No, just kind of like the season in general.
Yeah, so I just want to see like Ryan Nielsen in general, just how he plays his defenses, his situational football, and like just his trends, like what he likes to do, and we've seen a lot of different stuff in preseason for me, which is like kind of like a different tune than we're kind of used to. He's kind of throwing like quarters coverage, cover 1 hole, like cover 2 stuff. Like it was fun. Like you kind of usually don't see that, but I think that kind of speaks on who Ryan Nielsen is and him trying to find his identity, just in terms of being a defensive coordinator. And then on offense, I'm really curious to see just the formations that we use, how we use them. Bizon is his usage, where he's going to get it, if he's actually going to catch like 60, 70 balls. I think he's going to. I've been on record saying I think he's going to get 2K all purpose. I really truly believe that he's got that in him. Yeah, I think just the maturation of like Ritter and Drake London to one another. I don't know if Ritter's going to be great, but I've been drafting Drake London in every league because the target share is just through the roof for him when he came in. So if he's just getting volume and it's working, then let's roll with it. So I'm anxious, and like even though we only seen one drive, I'm excited at the possibility of the actual usage of Bijan, just in multiple ways and getting him in space kind of thing.
Yep.
Got a question for both of you. Adam, who is your breakout player on the defense this season? And Fleek, who is your breakout player for the offense?
Grant, or am I frozen? Hello.
Yep, you're good. You're good.
I don't know what happened. I turned into a spinning wheel there for a second. I'll go Richie Grant. I think like I said, he's one of the big reasons. I think he's one of the biggest beneficiaries from Jesse Bates, just ability to roam the intermediate area. I think he's going to be a real he's got to be a really good intermediate coverage guy for us to be successful. Just seeing Troy Anderson's like current like development, it's going uphill, but it's slow uphill, right? So we'll see where he goes, but Richie's gonna have to really step in. He has a knack for getting the ball loose and creating turnovers already in his career. Just not to like a high level, but I think that changes this year. I really think he asserts himself as just that whole player where he's able to cause havoc in the intermediate area and be good in run support. There's several clips from him last year where he's just in the run game, kind of just dip and dodge in offensive linemen to create havoc in the backfield. I think that continues. I think this is a really good scheme for him, just to be that nickel kind of player, but also play deep third in a cover 2 kind of thing. So I think Richie really is that kind of guy.
Fleek, who you got for the offense?
I'm not gonna say Bijan, right? I'm gonna go Drake though. Like I know Drake had under 1,000 yards last year due to circumstances. We all know the circumstances. And I know a lot of people are on, a lot of people that watch the film are now like, okay, this guy has something. I remember a lot of people critiquing us picking Drake London last year so high. Now they're like, you know what I'm saying? I see his footwork. I see his route running has gotten better. He's smooth in and out of his breaks. Like they're seeing that even though he's 6'4", 6'5", he can run routes, he can create separation, and he can go get a ball. Those 50-50 balls are usually his. So I think he's in line for a breakout season, bro. Like Damsky mentioned, his target share in those last 4 games when Ritter came in, you're going to get 17 games of that this year. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. I think you're going to win a lot of your fantasy leagues because of Drake London this year, dog. I really think Drake London can potentially have I don't want to put a number on it. I think he's just gonna have a good season. I think, other than Bajan, I think he'll be our clear-cut second most important player, like most important weapon. I feel like.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you, Trey? Who offense or defense? Who do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm going defense this year, I'm gonna have to probably say, it sounds weird saying this, but Grady Jarrett, I think, is the second biggest beneficiary of the moves. I agree with you. I think Richie is the first with all the moves in the secondary, and then when I look at who's the next, it would be Grady. I think Grady could have a crazy year.
That's a good one. I like that one.
He's just gonna be a lot more fresh. It's just the fact that he's gonna have more energy later into games and stuff like that. That is really what pushes me to think that it's gonna be him. On the other side of the ball, I need it to be this player. So that's why I'm saying this guy. I need it to be this guy, and that's the rookie Matthew Bergeron. I need that kid to be a hit, to break out, so that I don't have to think about left guard for another offseason. I'm done thinking about the left guard position, and Matthew Bergeron is the guy that's going to make us forget the troubles that we ever had there, and be the breakout guy for offense this year. So
I liked his snaps in preseason. His first one, he kind of whiffed.
Oh yeah.
But man, he was looking to hurt people.
Right?
And
Yeah.
that's my
I like the
that's my-
nastiness.
Yeah, he was. A lot of people can walk the walk, but that boy talks the talk, man. And he can, if he hit, like you said, if he hits, this line's gonna be like Dallas
Nice,
Cowboys
bro.
good. Like,
Yes,
back in the
bro.
day.
So nice.
Okay, we got a good question from chat here. I want to lob this one to you guys from Michael B. What is your take on Mac Hollins? Will
Like
it
that
be
question.
similar to what we saw in the preseason? And I just initially want to say, I think it's going to be a little difficult to discern what this team's going to look like, because we didn't see Pitts in the preseason. We did in the last game, but we didn't see Jonnu a lot. We didn't see everybody on the field together. I think Mac Hollins is going to do what he was signed to do, which is be like wide receiver 3, and he'll do a fine job of that. And I don't think he'll really be asked to do more.
Facts. That's basically how I feel. I feel like he'll be a guy that can make a play for you when you need one. Kind of like Daryl Hodge was last year, a little bit more than that, though. I think Mac is going to be good, but like you said, we have a lot of weapons. Like, there are only so many targets to go around. But I think when we need him, I think he'll be able to come through for us. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, I think Fleek hit it like when we need him to, he'll kind of clutch up. But I think a lot of what he was brought here to do is going to be stuff that's not on a box score. And at the end of the year, going to be like, well, what did he really do? And then you're going to see Nate Tice be like, well, look at Mac Hollins blocking 15 yards downfield, and that's why this sprung open. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of his football, and I think he knows that. That's why he kind of plays the role that he does, is that he's just a pivot guy. You need me to catch the ball? Okay. You need me to block downfield? Okay. You need me to be an inline tight end? Okay. Like, you need me to line up as an H-back? He might have to do it. Like, he's just one of those guys that a lot of what he does is just not going to be conducive to being like, oh, was he really worth $1.2 million? Like, yeah, like that kind of stuff in like a running first offense, it kind of is. But then, like, you got to realize too, the reason that he was brought here, he ran more in breaking routes than like most receivers in the NFL, and that's kind of what we run here. So he could have a nice little bump in production. I think, what did he have? He had his most last year at 6 or 7.
Yeah, he had a career year
Like
last
700.
year. 704 touchdowns, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll be a little well under that, but not well under it, but under that.
I think in yards, but I think you could see him getting close to the same tutties. Like, I think you could see that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he could be a red zone guy. He's just, I know when people seen the Raiders, when Raiders were watching the Raiders fans that I know were watching the Falcons game, they said that Mac was noticeably leaner and more built. So, I mean, if he's going to be a bully in the red zone, I'll take that all day.
For sure. We need that.
Yeah.
Well, So here's another good one. And Adam, I think this is a good one for you, especially. Let's talk about Zach Harrison. So let's talk about let's build off that. Let's take expectations. What are the expectations for a rookie edge? What are your expectations for Zach Harrison this year? Is this a guy that people should be expecting 8 sacks from off the bat? Leading the rookies in pressure rate like Ebiketie last year, or do we need to pump the brakes a little bit?
I mean, I think he's gonna be. I don't think he'd be a high sack guy. I think he'd be a pocket pusher though, and that's not gonna suffice the fan base for sure. And people are gonna be upset at me saying that. But I think he's gonna be able to give you like 4 to 5 sacks year in, year out. Not saying this year, but year in, year out. Eventually, what you want him to be is probably like a fourth or third guy in the rotation, a guy that can come in and that hey, like, I'm going to be able to, I need him to push the pocket here so I can run a stun off his backside here kind of guy. And those guys, they have long careers. They just last in the league. And as long as you're routinely being able to push the pocket and create pressure, those things are good too. I know a lot of people don't want to hear me say that, but it's really facts. And I mean, I obviously watched him when he was at Ohio State and he underwhelmed there. I'm not going to, sugarcoat things. He was a 5-star. He was supposed to be the next Chase Young for us, but he really never really hit his stride. And I think the thing I said about him when I thought he was going to declare last year, I thought a new D-line coach would be helpful for him. I know Larry Johnson is a legend in the game, and he's still to this day is getting recruits and developing guys at a high rate. But sometimes, if you've ever been around football, you just know sometimes things don't click the same for one guy as they would another guy. You know what I mean? So going from a guy like Larry Johnson, who was really good at his craft, to a guy like Ryan Nielsen, maybe he says, hey, move this hand instead of this hand. And that ends up developing him a little bit more. So I think Zach Harrison landed in the right spot with a good D-line coach. And I think he can be a solid rotational piece. And that's kind of what you want from your third round pick. I mean, I could be completely wrong. He could be a consistent 10-sack guy. He definitely has like that kind of ceiling potential, but I think he falls somewhere in between the middle where he's about a 4-sack guy, but can give you about 18 to 20 pressures a year too.
Okay.
Sound good.
Yeah, I mean, sounds good to me. Let's
right, I take it.
Let's look at the Panthers matchup. You guys ready to talk about this game? If we got, man, I can't believe it. We got a game. Okay, so this is the first of many ugly NFC South division games.
Yes.
The division is a hot mess this year. And, a couple of teams such as us or the Panthers could very well take advantage of the situation and sneak into the playoffs and possibly walk out of the season with the NFC South Division crown. And this is going to be the first game, I think, that builds the momentum for both of these teams if that's the season they're looking to have. Division games matter twice as much. And, this is a team that looks really similar to us and has just taken a slightly different road or path in their own rebuild. These are two, I think, nice defenses, which is really
Weird.
funny to say. Yeah, I know. I'm like, that doesn't even sound right. But these are two nice defenses. You got fun corners on both sides of the ball here. You got good play in the trenches. This is going to be, I think, a game where you're going to see both defenses get after the other team's QB and really force the issue. And on the other side of the ball, you see two teams that are better at running than they are at throwing, two wide receiver cores that leave a little bit less to desire. Carolina's more so than Atlanta. Atlanta has weapons they can throw the ball to. It's just the wide receiver core as a whole doesn't look great on paper, but no mistake there that there's plenty of weapons to get the ball spread around to. Not so much for Bryce Young. And then speaking of Bryce Young, yeah, you have the Heisman winner, rookie quarterback set to make his first start. Desmond Ridder set to make his 5th start. So we got two young QBs who are hoping to be the future of their franchises. I can keep going with all the storylines there are to pack into this game, but just just to get things going, what are you expecting from the Falcons offense in this game?
I don't know, bro. Like all this offseason talk with Arthur saying, we want to be more balanced, right? I want to see how true that is. I want to see how much Dez comes out slinging. You know what I'm saying? Like, show me. Is he that guy? Do you really believe in him? Like, do you really think in a pinch he can get things done? I want to see it. I expect this game to be highly competitive because, as you said, Trey, I think these are two nice defenses, and I think they will apply pressure. I want to see how Ritter reacts to that. I want to see how he progresses throughout the game. I want to see if he's still a slow starter. He notoriously starts off games pretty slow. But what does Arthur Smith do for him to get him in the rhythm? I want to see how their relationship has progressed in that aspect. But I expect it to be fun, man. I expect to see Bijan in the slot. You know what I'm saying? I expect to see Drake dunking on guys on the sidelines. Like, I'm ready, bro. Falcons football is back.
Yeah, I mean, our offense, I'm really curious to see our offensive line versus that front seven for Carolina. I think Carolina's defense, like a lot of Falcons fans, they just kind of dismiss it. But you look up and down that defense, there's literally not a hole in that thing. There's really not a guy that not a lot of people talk about anymore, or sorry, not a lot of people talk about in general right now is Frankie Louvu. He's an unreal linebacker. I'm anxious to see the run fits versus their front seven. Derek Brown's gonna have rookie Matthew Bergeron right away. So just like how Jalen Mayfield in his rookie debut got abused by Javon Hargrave, we'll see if Matthew Bergeron can kind of stand up to the test of one of those interior pocket pushers and just an animal in the run game. And then you have Bijan versus Frankie Louvu and Shaq Thompson. Shaq Thompson's unreal player, a really fun sideline to sideline kind of guy. He learned under Luke, and he's kind of really stepped into a nice little role there as the Mike linebacker. So just to see our running backs versus their linebackers, like that's kind of like a schematic dream almost. And that's something that we're going to get a long time. Like Frankie Louvu, I think he's 28, but he's a free agent after this year. But he's another guy, sideline to sideline. I'm really anxious to see. And then as you guys were talking about, I didn't even clue in that it's JC Horn versus Drake London. And that's like, that's alpha. And that's like, there's going to be so much beefing back and forth. And it's unreal because.
Oh yeah. They were chirping last year.
Yeah. JC is a really, he's a fun player. I hate how much I like him because he plays for Carolina, but he's a really technically sound player, a real physically gifted corner. And then we didn't even get into another guy that I actually absolutely love too, Jeremy Chin. He's just a +1 in every sense of the word. Like he can fit, he can run fit, he can rush, he can be a delayed blitzer. And then he can play in the deep third, and then to make it worse, they got Evero as their defensive coordinator. Like that, like I don't think people understand. Like this might be a 17-14 kind of game. Like Atlanta, if they can pull out, like this is a tough physical game right away. I know, like if things go bad for Carolina's offense, maybe we can double up on them, but. That defense they're really going to bring it. I know people are talking about maybe Brian Burns doesn't play, but that just doesn't like Evero always has his defenses playing, it's going to be tough. Every yard's going to be earned, and if Bijan goes crazy and he gets like 150 total yards, all I gotta say is like it's going to be a huge season for that boy if he can do that against Carolina's front seven.
Yeah. By the way, right quick, Brian Burns, if you are saying this. Respect yourself. You know what I'm saying? Fight for your money, my dog. Like I completely understand. You are a hard-working individual. And quite frankly, if it takes until week 2 for you to receive that money, that's not your fault. You know what I'm saying? So just remember that.
It's funny, but they have some guys that like Yetur Gross Matos. They drafted DJ Johnson. And then they had somebody else. Justin Houston as well.
Houston's with the Lions. No,
yeah.
Houston's with the Lions.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Houston's with the Lions.
No, I thought he signed with Carolina.
Who did the Lions get?
Let's see. Just on Houston. I'm just put my phone down.
Professional podcasting.
Right.
He's with the Ravens last year. Where
Yeah,
is he
he's with
now?
the Carolina
he's with the
Panthers.
Panthers. He's with the Panthers.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, that front is for real. I forgot they signed Shy Tuttle too. They got some guys.
They did.
Yeah,
Oh,
but like I
man.
said too, like Frankie Louvu, he's a player to watch. Him and Jeremy Chin are my two players to watch on that front, I would say. What about you,
All
Trey?
right,
What are you looking forward to on offense in that first game?
Well, man, I felt like y'all only talked about two guys on offense there. Talked about that whole Panthers defense. For me, I think I'm really interested in. Look, man, positionless football is not a new concept. In fact, it's probably the most common concept of football that's run in the States because that's how every high school runs their offense is positionless football. So I understand fans' excitement and everything over that. I want to see how is this depth actually going to hold up. I know people have been talking about they're not worried because a wide receiver 2 in this offense is actually a tight end 1 and a whatever this is or that. But at the end of the day, like this is football. There's positions. Like I want to see. Okay, after the first wave, after the second wave, how is Taquan Graham looking? Or sorry, not Taquan. We're talking about offense right now. How are Mike Collins and Scotty Miller holding up as the game goes on? Is Ritter able to rely on those guys? Is Jonnu Smith there's been this assumption that Jonnu Smith is the guy in Tennessee, and I mean, there's a reason he got dumped by the Patriots, and like part of it was his contract, but he also wasn't living up to that contract either. So, what is Jonnu Smith like? Is he going to be able to return to form? Is he going to be able to be the guy that everybody is, so positive that he's going to be? And then, Adam touched on it earlier, but okay, so who's taking the Parker Hesse role? That's a guy that was a halfback who was playing the Swiss Army knife, who was everywhere. Is it going to be John Fitzpatrick? John Fitzpatrick profiles completely differently than Parker Hesse. John Fitzpatrick is like the size of Lee Smith. This dude's a monster. He doesn't really have the halfback agility and athleticism, I think. It's not going to be Michael Pruitt.
So take John Fitzpatrick as the first touchdown of the year then?
You know what? I think it's a good bet. And maybe Keith Smith does more, right? Like Adam mentioned, Keith Smith didn't do the stuff that we saw Hesse doing. Well, maybe they told Keith this year, like, hey man, like that's what we're gonna need you to do this to hold down that roster spot. So depth is what I'm really interested in. And guys, it kind of feels weird around Cordell Patterson right now.
Yeah, it does.
He hasn't practiced. There's not really a lot of communication going on. The assumption is he's just going to show up. I hope he does. I hope everything's all right there. It's just been kind of weird on that front.
Yeah,
I want that CP.
Is Parker Hesse like? Do they still have that like taxi squad thing where you can like kind of come up right on game day?
Yeah, he can get.
I was gonna say that
because he's gonna. I bet you he's gonna be on that all year. I bet he's just gonna keep playing. He'll
get pulled up and down. Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say too.
Yeah, so we will get a game day roster and see if he gets moved up to it for that.
But yeah, the CP thing, bro. That's why last week I was like, "Are we sure he's gonna be there week 1?" Like, because they just stopped talking about him, and every time anybody asked Arthur Smith anything about a player, he said, okay, well, we're not going to go into specifics. Then he said, ask Monday. And then today someone asked, and he just chuckled and then said, we feel good about some players, but we'll ultimately see Wednesday. So I think we'll know more about Cordell on Wednesday. But I've heard people, getting kind of nervous that he might go on IR and miss 4 weeks. You know what I'm saying? So
what the heck?
That would be crazy. I saw one tweet about that, but I think that was just a fan worrying. That's not official, but hopefully it's not that, situation.
Yeah, for sure. But it is weird. I'll give you guys that.
Yeah. Hey, time out. Weirdo. Hold on. We're not finna go this whole. Whoa. My bad. We're not about to go this whole topic and not say one thing about Tyler.
Well, say it.
Bad one. That's it.
I said,
Bulldozer.
I
Hey, 4
showed you the
yards of
bench.
carry.
That's what he's going to be. No, I'm just joking.
There's only 3 running backs on this roster, and Cordell Patterson is one of those 3. So I you
Right.
know, you're definitely right, Fleek. We need to say Tyler Algier's name more because I think it's going to be
Yes.
called a ton, especially in this matchup. Because like Adam mentioned, there's a good chance it's a 17-14 type of game. And I want to see Arthur Smith, show us whatever he can with Ritter. But deep down, I think Arthur Smith is going into this game with the mentality of like, this is his 5th game. This is my QB's 5th game ever. Like he's going in, he's going to protect him first and then try to slowly, I think, open up the playbook, really let him unwind and everything like that. So yeah, Tyler Algier, I think we'll hear his name a lot. Adam, let's talk defense.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna add to that. I think like that's kind of psychologically you want to say, hey, like I really want Ritter to win this first game at home, a divisional opponent, right? So like you may only see him throw the ball 18 times because the run game's so efficient. So you kind of play the long game with him, like you said, 5th game. What can we do for him? Getting a win against a divisional opponent, being 1-0 in the NFC. And then being 1-0 in the NFC South, I think that goes longer for you over the course of a year than, let's see if we can get vertical against these guys. Let's see if we can do uncharacteristic things. When it's like, okay, well, let's just tough this one out, get a win. Ritter feels good about it. On Monday, he's not talking about what he could have done differently to win the game. He's talking about, hey, you look good. You were 14 of 19. Things look good. You tossed a touchdown or you ran one in. It looked good. Like how can you build on that versus, hey man, you threw an interception. Things got tough for you. How can you improve them? Like psychologically, you want to say, hey man, we got Algier and Bijan. We can run the piss out of this ball, especially if they're having success early. We can run it for 200 yards and get out of here with a tough front 7 and get a win and go into the season feeling good about ourselves. When you have, I think the first 3 games are really winnable. The 3rd game against Detroit is a really tough. We're gonna see what you got for us there. But those first 3 games, if you can go 2-0 going into Detroit, I think you really feel good about the Ritter. So I mean, getting that first one at home, I think that would be like for me if we could see less of Ritter and just, hey man, if this is working for us, let's get that going and get out of here with a win. I think that would go for you long term, more for you long term than, hey, we need to throw it 28 times to see what Ritter can actually do.
I have to 100% agree. Hey, the implications for Sunday is that if the Falcons win, we will be over 500 for the first time in like 6 years, dog. 5 years.
Psychological game, man. Yeah, bro.
Agree with you.
Yeah.
So on the other side of the ball, we've got first-time defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen making his debut, and a couple of new faces. Jesse Bates making his debut as a Falcon as well.
Number 3, by the way.
That's right. That should still be Coos, but we're happy that Jesse is rocking it over the former number 3 of the squad. So, off the bat, what are you expecting from the 2 most high-profile newcomers in Ryan Nielsen and Jesse Bates?
Oh, you wanted me to take it away?
Either, whoever, yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of good, man. I honestly think this kind of matches up well for our pass rush to really get in rhythm here. Carolina's run game is really Miles Sanders, and then I think they drafted somebody, but Miles is banged up too, and that O-line's look bad. I'm not saying our D-line looked amazing versus the Bengals, but I can tell you that they'll definitely look good against a bunch of rookies and second-year guys in Carolina, right? And a freshly new QB in Bryce Young. So I'm anxious to see what the front looks like. But Jesse Bates, I think he's going to get him one this game. I really feel like a rookie quarterback going in his first game's away game. I really feel like Jesse's going to harness the power of that number 3 and snag him one. I think, like I said, anytime you get a high-profile single high safety like that, I think that's what you're looking for, is a guy that can be a difference maker and be a +1 in the deep third. I think he can deliver that. But yeah, I'm really anxious to see what Ryan Nielsen. I expect pressures by the plentiful. Like I'm talking 5-man pressures all day. He's kind of known for it in New Orleans, so I'd imagine Caden Ellis will be doubled up in that A gap with Troy Anderson quite a bit come Sunday.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, basically what I think or what I want to see correlates very well with everything you said. I just want to see if this defense is opportunistic, man. Like my favorite defenses to watch are defenses that can force turnovers, defenses that can turn the game around when their back's up against the wall. With guys like Jesse Bates, the way I think Richard Grant can be a ball hawk and can find his way around. Sending if Ryan Nielsen is sending pressures and hurrying up the quarterback's decision making, like just all these things. If our cornerbacks can be sticky in the man coverage that I think we'll be playing, like all of these things can culminate to us having a really fun defense, and in turn a really good defense. And I mean that'd just be something I'd almost cry. You know what I'm saying? Like that's heartwarming to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What about you, Trey? What do you think from this defense?
From Nielsen specifically, dad's not at work with you anymore. No more co-DC. You're the guy here. But luckily, they did bring along Grandpa, and Jerry Gray is in the building with you, so you're not completely alone. You got some eyes upstairs that I think are going to be great to help you out. I love the Jerry Gray hire still because I think he's just going to be a great wealth of knowledge for Nielsen to be able to lean on to and have by his side. So, I just want to see smart, good play calling. Like Adam said, in the preseason, it was fun. He's doing a lot of different stuff. We were really seeing him start to open up the playbook, which you don't really get to see a lot at that point of the year. So I'm excited to see, what he's going to bring to historically one of the worst defensive teams, in the NFL. That's never been a strong suit. This is a guy who could potentially lead to change on that. And it seems like he's got the dogs in the building to be able to at least, get started. Jesse Bates. I'm just looking for big free agent plays, right? He's the big free agent guy. Just go out there and beat Jesse Bates. You already did some crazy stuff in the preseason where you were breaking up passes from the middle of the field that you had no business breaking up. Just keep doing your thing. Think he's going to flourish, make everybody happy. AJ, all-pro AJ is coming back this year. He's got Jesse behind him. He's got Clark in the slot. He's got Alfred in the slot. This man's got nothing to worry about except for locking up your opposing, the opposing team's favorite wide receiver week in and week out. And that's the expectation I have for him. And I think the interior defensive line of this football team is going to ruin most teams' Sundays. I think that interior unit is going to bully the hell out of almost everybody we play this year. Because the sheer size and power alone of that group is ridiculous. So I'm really excited for this defense. I'm really optimistic. And obviously that's because we're like, we were 28th, 29th, whatever, every other year. So it always feels like the only place to go from there is up. And that's still true. So I think it's going to be exciting to see all of this talent now. And I'm really hoping that the group I'm worried about the most, the linebacker unit, I'm really hoping that they can wash away some of my worries. I think they have a pretty favorable matchup week one to kind of help them break into the season and have a really good kickstart there. So yeah.
Yeah, they're really going to have to just forward prospecting into the Detroit game because Detroit's kind of what we are as well. Just like a run first physical team, and they have different flavors of ice cream in the run game too. So that's they're definitely going to have to these next two games really step up and show what they can do. But I would just add on what you said about Jesse Bates breaking up stuff. Like there was a play in that Bengals game. It was 3rd and 6. I'll never forget it. Left hash. This is how much I remember it. Left hash. He came down as a hole player and he made a stop. for 5 yards, 3rd and 5. So it was 4th and 1. And I was saying, I've probably in 20 years of watching the Falcons, I've never seen a safety like that stop a player for a 4th down. And I was like, I'm so geeked up about this like preseason play because I just haven't seen it. Right? I was like, this guy's like the real deal. He's worth $16 million right there. Like, he brought up 4th and 1, and like that's pivotal. Like looking in a game situation, 3rd and 6, he throws it completed. When was the last time you really seen a completed pass go for 5 yards and be short of the sticks? Is just not often, right? So to see Jesse do that, I was just a little teardrop down my eye a little bit there.
It's been a long time, man.
Yeah,
it's been a long time, dog.
Yeah. After that play, I was like, I gotta get this guy's jersey for sure.
Bro,
and then after the game, he switched to number 3. Or no, it was after cuts. He switched to number 3, but he solidified it. He's my guy.
So, question, guys: the statistic that is on everyone's mind when it comes to this defense, how many sacks are we looking for week 1?
Last year, if I'm not mistaken, didn't the Falcons have like 3 or 4 sacks in week 1?
I think we had 3 sacks in the first week last year. I believe we did.
And then we still had a lackluster season with sacks. But
we had our worst season of sacks. We had like a quarter of our sacks.
Bro, it's so bad, dog.
That's so terrible.
Hey, man, that's so bad. I'm gonna say 4 sacks though.
4 sacks. Okay.
I've seen the Panthers' offensive line struggle in the preseason. I've seen Bryce Young looking like mini Matt Ryan for mini Matt Ryan. mini Matt Ryan. For 3 weeks straight now, dog. Like you were saying, this interior has the opportunity and the talent to wreck a lot of offensive lines, and I think week 1 is the perfect time to show people, bro. Like, this ain't your grandma's Atlanta Falcons, dog. Like, we lit now, right? Smack them in the mouth. So hopefully 4 sacks.
4 sacks. All right.
I'm going bold, man. I'm feeling good about this year. I'm going double what we got last year. I'm going 6 sacks first game.
Ooh.
I'm going.
Are the Panthers going to throw that many times?
Yeah, they're gonna have to. They're
gonna have to. Yeah.
I think Caden Ellis probably. I'll bet you Caden Ellis leads us in sacks this game.
Okay, so we're going with 6. Caden Ellis leading the way. All right. Yeah, I've got us at 4. I put 5 on the TL earlier. I think we can hit 5, but I think we're getting 4 sacks. That line is rough, and even though I think Carolina might only throw it 10 times in that game, like I think that's their goal. I feel like they have Bryce, but at this point, that wide receiver core is so bad. I just don't know how long they'll be able to protect him. Especially once that interior pressure starts hitting home, because it's gonna start hitting home awfully quick.
Yeah.
So on the other side of the ball, how is the Atlanta Falcons pass protection going to look? Because here's the thing: last year we know this was the best, if not the second best, running offensive line in the league, and that. I think is unquestionable by most metrics. But when it came to throwing the ball, we still saw some of the same old ugly issues rear their head. And the QB position was under pressure a lot more often than you would want to see. How do we feel about the O-line this year? Caleb is back on a very team-friendly deal. We got the rookie who I mentioned earlier, Matthew Bergeron, that we all liked what we saw from the preseason. And Adam, you went in earlier about this defense, man. This is going to be a tough defensive unit. So what are you guys expecting from the O-line group of the Atlanta Falcons?
That's one area I am kind of worried about. I think what really helped in the first preseason, I know we're putting a lot on that preseason game, but that's how we got 15 plays to go off of in that preseason game. But in that preseason game, Arthur did a good job of moving the pocket and helping out McGarry. I know people don't want to hear that, but I mean, we're actually paying him a reasonable contract. So it's not like like if he's lackluster in one spot, it's actually not too bad. But they're gonna help. They gotta help McGarry. When he was just asked to do his pass set normally, I didn't want to put it on the timeline, but I did put it in a couple group chats I'm in, and I'm like, McGarry looked pretty bad, pretty rough there. But I think the good news is the Falcons don't have to they don't have to worry about their left guard situation. Like Elijah Wilkinson was very good in the run game. I think Bergeron's going to give us more in the pass game than Wilkinson gave us last year, and I think to that extent we'll be able to chip more for McGarry and move the pocket a little bit more. Add to that too, Ritter's better intermediate thrower than Marcus obviously was. Marcus was terrible at it, and Ritter is still a good athlete. So I mean, you're still going to be able to move the pocket, and I mean, we used a abundance of play action already in the preseason. So you're going to see a lot of boots. Like that's what's going to come down to, and you're just going to have to hope that Ritter can get out. But I do end up like he'll get sacked. Like it's inevitable. I think probably 3 or 4 sacks. I think that is inevitable.
Okay, Fleek, any other thoughts on that?
I feel the same. I don't know what to expect. You know what I'm saying? I want to believe and hope that Matthew Bergeron does solidify that left guard position, and if so, that's better for us. But Caleb McGarry does kind of worry me in pass protection. That's why I pleaded for Brian Burns to respect himself this week and just go ahead and sit this one out. Because and like you mentioned,
that man's number.
Yeah, like dog, I am looking at McGarry Island, and it's a big question mark right there for me right now. So I'm interested to see how he fares. I'm interested to see how the game goes, but I expect to see Ritter on the ground a few times for sure.
Okay. And I think that's fair. I mean, it's football, right? I mean, like Adam said, he's gonna get sacked. That's unavoidable. The hope is that it's just not killing drives, and they're not happening because the ball's being held on too long or anything like that. So, plays they'll happen, but it's just about minimizing that error as much as possible. I'm trying to think, I think we've really hit everything. There's a couple of guys we haven't talked about that I want to talk about briefly with you guys real quick. Drew Dahlman. Big year for Drew Dahlman. Last year, it's funny, but in season, the temperature around Drew Dahlman, everybody was yelling at him. Saying that he was the worst snapper, everything, this, that, and the other. After the season, people started to be a little bit more optimistic and say, well, you know what? I think when you actually look at the growth from the first year to then him starting last year, there was growth there, and there's potential that he could take another step this year. I think this is a big matchup. For him, I think this is going to be something to watch for the Falcons throughout the year, because center could be something that they start looking at down the road. But, how do you guys feel about Drew Dahlman, and kind of what are you looking for from him for this game and then just kind of the season moving forward?
Yeah, I think last year for him was kind of an up and down season. Sorry, not up and down. A tale of 2 seasons. At the beginning of it, he really struggled with the snaps, and his pass blocking wasn't as great, and he just struggled in general. I think if you look at the back 6 games of his, I think he really started to really assert himself as a dominant run blocking center, and he was getting back to average as a pass blocker. From what I heard this very early on, because all you guys knew, I love John Michael Schmitz, the center out of Michigan. I was like, man, he's a perfect outside zone center. He looks great. But early on in the offseason, I heard that Atlanta really likes Dahlman. They like the growth that he did. So I didn't really pay no mind to the center class after that. And once free agency hit, and we didn't even add another. It was just New Zealand, right? Who just kind of stuck. Mm-hmm. I really believe like they feel like he's going to be the guy, and you just want to see growth. I think people get lost in last year was his first full year starting as the center, and that's just how it goes. It's just with every position you see growth. That's what you want to see. Versus like Matt Hennessy, when he started the 1 year he started, you didn't see growth from him. It's the same thing with Jalen Mayfield. You played 17 games, but you don't see growth. You didn't see growth. Sometimes you see regression. With Drew Dahlman, he started rough, was rough, started getting better, and got back to average at the end of the year. And that's growth. That's a young player getting better throughout the year. And that's what you want to see. So like this year, year 3, it is for him now. He should be asserting himself as either an average or an above average player in the league. People will be like, well, if he's an average player, what is that? Well, in the NFL, average offensive linemen are hard to find. So if that's the only thing he is, and he's an average offensive lineman, but hey, we can still run those wind backs and the counter plays with him pulling and getting active in the second level, and he can be really good with that, and that's what he carves out his career as. And the only thing we need to help him with is doubling in the interior. In the pass game, then so be it. So I think Drew Dahlman, he's not. I don't think he's the level of prospect John Michael Schmitz is. I really feel like he's going to be the guy for the Giants for a long, long time at the center there, and I think he's going to be a Pro Bowl level player. I know our friend Luke spoke highly of him too, but I think Drew Dahlman, if all he is like a really good player, and then we resign him to like a McGarry style contract where he's making good money but not top of the league money, I think you'll be really happy with that. And he just has a good career. A lot like Todd McClure. Todd McClure, he was never the best center. He was never the worst center. He was kind of somewhere in between. And that's kind of what you want from your center play.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, average is fine with me if it's Drew Dahlman. If Drew Dahlman gives me that, I'm good. That keeps this offensive line trucking. I would like to see him continue progressing in his pass blocking. But I'm just hoping for growth. I don't watch film on him or anything. I know I felt like he got better later in the year. If he could just make it not be a problem, like if we don't have to say his name, if you don't hear his name a lot, he's probably doing his job. He's probably doing fine. That's all I want. You know what I'm saying? Because that is an integral piece. And if he slips up, we will definitely be in the center market going into next offseason. So hopefully he can just lock that spot up for his own. And just show that he's ready to stay and, keep that center position solid for Ritter, hopefully, for years to come.
Yeah, I agree. I think if he's average, it's great because it's less draft resources that have to be poured into the O-line, and that makes me happy. So the other guy I want to talk about before we decide and make the predictions for the game this Sunday, Troy Anderson. This is somebody else who, like Matthew Bergeron, I need them to break out this year, and to have a great season. Second round pick of last year's draft. A tale of two seasons himself. Started off, working his way up from special teams, finally started to get some play. You saw the athletic ability flash, and then you also just saw, some of the mental errors that need to be cleaned up. And I think just him getting more familiar with the position at this level. Troy is somebody that could be used similarly to Ellis. We're not really sure what Nielsen's plan is for Troy. We know that Nielsen has a documented history of being able to take advantage of athletes. So I'm very interested to see if he can take advantage of what is on paper the best athlete at the linebacker position that's come out of the combine. Any predictions from you guys on what Troy Anderson will be this year? Are we about to see our own Micah Parsons? Are we about to see a revolutionary, transcendent linebacking play coming from the second unit? And we're sleeping on what could be the best duo in the league. Give me some hope here, guys. Give me something good.
Hey, what's that Kodak meme? I hope so. You know what I'm saying? But hey, man, listen, do you realize what you just said? He's like the most athletic linebacker to come out of the combine. So he obviously has what it takes to get it done. under Ryan Nielsen, hopefully he all he needs to do is sharpen up, tune his game because we all seen his closing speed last season. He made some plays. He's flashed. He blocked a punt on special teams. He's just explosive as a player and as an athlete. And I think when he's able to just go, when he's able to just let the game come to him, that's when he plays his best, right? So hopefully he doesn't have to stop and think too much. Maybe he can just read and react, and hopefully make big plays in the backfield, bro. That's what I'm expecting to see. And if he's used in an Ellis type role, like if he's rushing a lot, if he's blitzing a lot, and he's sacking the quarterback, hey, come on now. Like you might be cooking with fish grease now on defense if you got Trey Anderson doing that. So hey, I'm hopeful, bro. You got me excited, bro. You got me excited.
Yeah, I think yeah, he's got a ways to go. he's got some ways to go. Linebacker is a tough position. It's ironic that you say that he can be used like Caden. I do think he's going to be used that. However, I don't think he's going to be used like that this year. I think he's going to be the coverage guy. I don't know how much I agree with that. And that's why I low-key kind of looking at linebackers next year. Don't want to put anything out there just
we
yet.
definitely need to look at some.
But Troy, so linebacker is such like a field position in coverage, especially in zone coverage. It looks like we're going to be playing man, and unfortunately for Troy, that's kind of where he struggles. There's a lot of instances of man coverage through this scheme in New Orleans, what Green Bay did with Jerry Gray, and then just what we put on tape in the preseason game. The good news is I think they have him covering the running back versus covering the tight end, which he really struggled versus the tight end. I think running back's more his flavor, kind of just because the running back kind of floats to the flats. Mostly you don't really see them schemed into. Jameer Gibbs is going to be an intriguing game for Troy. We'll see if we'll watch Gibbs versus Troy, and we'll know where we're at barometer wise, where we're at with Troy. But I'm intrigued. I mean, his physical profile, he could be Fred Warner. He really has that physical profile. He could be the best linebacker in the league. Whether he gets there or not, I don't know. Ryan Nielsen really is a guy that develops linebackers as well as D linemen. Not a lot of people know that, but he handled all the front seven stuff in New Orleans. So he's going to be good for him. And he turned over the exact same positional coach last year. Bush, I think, is still there, right? Frank Bush was the only holdover, I think, to the new staff. I believe, right?
It sounds correct.
Still here?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, no, they kept him. It
was Bush.
Okay.
So just kind of having that familiarity and then having another voice in the room like Nielsen, who's very good at his craft, it will be very good for him. So I'm intrigued. But I need to see more. I'm not really kind of planting my fade flag in anything yet. A guy I really like, Barrett Carter, is playing today, so it's kind of sideline to sideline today, of course. So you know what I mean. That's all I'm saying. Just go through with not rose-colored glasses and just see it for what it is. A lot of people are gonna like Troy because he's gonna play like Dion. Dion fell on tackles and he got the box score stats, and people are gonna be like, he got 120 tackles. That's amazing. Well, it's not really. You want to kind of look at run stuffs versus box score tackles. So that's a little bit more advanced analytics versus just a tackle and total tackles and solo tackle stat.
Micah Parsons confirmed. Micah Parsons confirmed. White Parsons confirmed. That's his new name.
That's all I'll say. Just be cautious about it.
He's White Parsons, and I won't I won't hear anything different. All right, guys. Score prediction.
We here.
Week 1. Who's walking away with the dub? Who's walking away with the L? What's the final score from each team? And you know what? Throw in. Let's see. Who scores? No. Who has the most total yards from the Falcons? There we go. Give me the game scores and give me who has the most total yards. We're not counting return yardage.
Okay. Got you. All right. Well, I think the Falcons come out with the win. By the way, I know I had a policy last year where I was like, oh, I never predict the Falcons loss. And then I started predicting Falcons losses. That was the whole thing last year. My new policy this year is I'm never predicting a Falcons loss. So the Panthers are going to come to Atlanta. They're going to get their face beat in. No, I'm joking.
Ooh.
It's going to be a tightly contested game. I honestly can see some late game cool heroics, right? I know he missed those 2 kicks in the preseason, Shmee season, whatever, right? It didn't happen. It's not real. It didn't count. Okay, Younghoe Koo is going to win this Falcons game for us, and we're going to win 24-21.
24-21. Okay.
24-21.
Okay.
Bijan has the most offensive yards for the Falcons.
Okay. 24-21.
139 yards, 2 tuds.
I will say last year in the first 2 games, we averaged like 29 points between those 2 games. So 24 seems doable. Better offensive weapons this year. Hopefully a better quarterback.
Hopefully.
Adam?
I'll go. I was actually going to go 24-20, but I'll change it up for Fleek. I'll actually go. I'll go 27-21 Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go. I'll go Bijan. Bijan's easy. Bijan.
Yeah.
I'll probably every time you ask me, I'll probably say Bijan.
Yeah.
And I hope it's true.
Yeah.
I like it.
What about you, Trey? What do you got for us, kid?
You know what? I'm also gonna go Bijan. I think he's going to lead the team in total yards for the offense. Look, man, I'm gonna be real. I don't. When it comes to Carolina, I could care. They are a joke to me. Like, they want to have a rivalry so bad with this franchise, and it's like the only team I know. I'm like, no matter what, we're beating you like once this year. Cam Newton played like God and got brought down to earth by one of the worst teams we had in their undefeated streaks. I'm like, there's no team you're gonna put in front of me that I ever think we will lose to. So I just got to get that going. And look, man, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm not an SEC guy. I just don't buy this hype around like a quarterback that's smaller than Kyle Murray. Like, I just don't really have a lot of faith that this is going to work out for them the way that they're hoping to, especially in this first year. I've got the Falcons winning 10-27. I think this is going to be I think this is going to be a little bit more of a beating. I expect it to be a beating. They are depleted at wide receiver right now. Like, they are down horrendously at wide receiver right now. This secondary should feast. And I mean, I think there's going to be, we talked about the amount of sacks earlier. I think you're going to get so many coverage sacks alone, just from I think it's going to be hard for him to protect the ball the entire game. So I think with that being said, with the more turnovers is going to lead to the boys being able to put up 27, get some short fields. And honestly, man, when I look at this Panthers offense, I just don't really see, anything that scares me enough to think that they'll be able to keep up once the Bijan train gets going, once everybody on O starts moving. It's how do they, what are they going to be able to fire back with? But if this does turn into a run fest, it won't shock me, because Arthur Smith might just want to keep it that way, because like we talked about, get that dub, get it by your brand of football, going in there, just running, smacking people in the mouth. So I'll be happy either way, but I'm going 27 Falcons, 10 Panthers. Stomping that W week 1. Stomping that W week 1.
That's a big.
Hey, I like it, bro. Hey, I like that.
Guys, closing comments, remarks, anything before we look forward to the first game of the year?
Yeah, be excited, man. This is the most excited I think I personally have been in a long while.
Mm.
For
Yeah,
the
bro.
Falcons. So I'm gonna try to be more of a fan this year than analyzing the team fully. And I'm excited, man. I really feel like there's gonna be some good fun times. I don't know what it's gonna end up leading to, but I think good Falcons football is on the agenda this year.
I agree, bro. Like, I mean, it you can feel it. Like I went to a training camp, man. You can feel the energy out there from just the fans alone. Um, Even people around the city, bro. I've literally, I know that sounds so cliche. I've literally been hearing people asking people in public, "What you think the Falcons gonna do this year?" I have not heard that in the past 3-4 years.
Yeah.
There has been no time. People are really asking. When I wear my Falcon stuff, people are asking me like, "What you think? How you think Ritter will do?" Like, people are really interested in this team again, man. And like, if they could just, you know, get cohesive, put it all together, and slam dunking for the town, bro, for the city, and at least push to the playoffs, bro. Like, that's all I ask for, bro. Like, at least be competitive. Like, and I'm not talking about 7-9 on the brink. I'm not talking about 7-8. I'm talking about if you're, 9-8, or sorry, 9-7 going into week 17, and you're fighting. Who do we play week 17? I don't even know. You're fighting to go 10-7 and wrap up the division. Like, I'm just in for some excitement, bro. But I want to be on the winning side of that excitement this year.
Yeah, definitely agree.
I think you guys are right. Uh, it's the first year with like legitimate expectations since like 2018.
Yeah.
So, enjoy it. There should be good football. There's too many good players on this team to not get some highlights, whether it's Bijan, Drake, Kyle, whoever. So there's definitely some fun ahead, and yeah, I hope that we get to enjoy as much of it as possible because we haven't really gotten to do that in a while. So, guys, it was a great show.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Excited
sir.
to be back. We appreciate everybody in the chat. Carrie, Tyler, Out of Your Falcon Mind Boys, Wallace, Michael. We appreciate you guys being in there. Appreciate you guys popping up some of the questions that you did. Guys, anything else?
No, man. Rise up.